So, please take your seats. Thank you. So, time has come for our third and final session for today, which is going to be about the impact of AI in the workplace of the future. According to a May 2023 report on the future of jobs by the World Economic Forum, 75% of organizations are planning to introduce AI over the next 5 years. Artificial intelligence has been out there for decades. It's not a new thing. For example, every time you Google something or you watch a video on YouTube or even buy something on Amazon, machine learning and artificial intelligence comes into play. However, it was not until late last year with the public launch of the first generative AI tool, the famous ChatGPT, that we all realize the tremendous impact, both positive and negative, AI can have across all human activities and especially on jobs. In this session, together with our panel of esteemed speakers and experts, we will focus on how AI is expected to impact different aspects of work in terms of increased productivity and efficiency. We will also try to shed some light on the potential it holds for unlocking new opportunities, as well as in the threats that it poses and the risks that are emerging due to its use and how these can be either mitigated or eliminated altogether. But let me introduce now our distinguished specialists of this last session. Our first speaker is Vasilios Bekas. Vasilios is Supreme Court Attorney at Law and Founding Partner at Bekas and Associates Law Office. Mr. Bekas, he is a highly regarded expert in corporate and commercial law with extensive experience in legal consultation for both Greek and multinational companies. He is a notable columnist and keynote speaker in his fields of expertise, and he is considered a thought leader in areas like mediation and negotiation. The legal implications of the market's transitions to AI and metaverse are among his key areas of interest. Welcome on stage, Mr. Bekas. Nice to have you with us today. You can sit over there on the last one. Our second speaker is Dr. Stefan Parkvall, a senior expert in group function technology at Ericsson. Dr. Parkvall currently works with 6G and future radio access. He is a pioneer in radio access development, as he has played a key role in the development of many 3GPP standards, HSPA, 4G, 5G. He is an IEEE fellow and has co-authored several books on mobile broadband and next-generation wireless access. He is also a holder of numerous communications patents. In other words, he is a mobile communications legend, and I'm really feeling honored that I will moderate a panel where you will be with us. Please join us, Mr. Parker. Our third and last speaker is Johnny Stieger, Head of Performance Solutions and Cloud Operations at SKF for EMEA. Mr. Stieger brings a wealth of experience from having served at different key positions at SKF with excellent results. Production manager, maintenance manager, strategic account manager for international clients, and global reliability manager who implemented industry best practices across 60+ industrial plants across the globe, enhancing productivity and reliability. Mr. Stieger, please welcome on stage. So you see, we really have renowned experts here with us today. Great. Without further ado, I would like to ask Mr. Bekas to please take the floor and help us understand how AI is used in business law and if this constitutes a substitution threat for lawyers or rather an opportunity, and why. The stage is yours.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. There is no doubt that we're living in really interesting times. So interesting that we can even see lawyers talking about AI in conferences. So, what is AI? Definitely a huge trend. But it's much more than that. Sentient machines are not a recent concept. Mankind has been contemplating with it for almost a century now. It was popularized by science fiction, novels, comics, TV series, films such as Space Odyssey or Matrix. These fictional attempts to foresee AI became very popular exactly because they strike our existential chords. Can humanity create a machine that one day will outperform us or even replace us? It's only been in the last 30 years or so that science fiction has become science reality. In 1997, chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov was beaten by IBM's Deep Blue. Since then, AI has been gradually and quietly introduced in our everyday lives. Autocorrect, Google Translate, self-driven cars, Hey Siri, so much more. Lately, however, artificial intelligence made a buzz. The new advanced generative AI tools such as ChatGPT raised admiration, but they also raised a question. Is AI a friend or a foe? Well, that's the case, and that's where lawyers come in. So, what's the relationship between AI and lawyers? Historically, our industry has been slow to adapt new technologies. But top law firms rode the AI wave first, and then most lawyers followed, of course. Nowadays, lawyers can choose from a wide palette of AI tools specifically designed for their needs. Contract drafting, new due diligence, legal research, billing, and so much more. AI has been helping us with all that. And it has sometimes achieved human performance. For instance, as you may know, ChatGPT was able to pass simulated bar exams, scoring at the bottom 10%, and the latest iteration, GPT-4, scored at the top 10%. Definitely a fast learner. Still, the friend or foe question remains unanswered. It's a question that bothers all industries, and it's one that only we humans, and in our case lawyers, can answer. There's no denying that AI is reshaping the legal industry as we speak. It has already proven its potential in a multitude of ways. AI improves efficiency and saves time by automating routine processes. Lawyers can focus on other higher value tasks, such as preparing for court or preparing a special legal strategy. AI provides valuable legal insights by quickly filtering vast amounts of legal literature. AI reduces costs. Less man-hours are needed for more tasks. AI reviews large volumes of electronic documents for discovering litigation faster and more accurately. AI enhances contract analysis by reviewing contracts, extracting key terms, ensuring contract compliance, and so much more. Last but not least, AI is always on. Chatbots, virtual assistants, providing clients with basic legal information any time of day or night. And there's even more. AI helps build more effective legal strategies by providing data-driven recommendations. AI can analyze historical case data and predict case outcomes, helping lawyers and clients make more informed decisions. AI can reduce human bias, leading to fairer outcomes in some cases. And ultimately, AI systems are easily scalable, allowing for increasing workload without significant overhead. In other words, lawyers that embrace generative AI tech tools are able to better streamline processes and focus on what matters most: the best possible outcome for their clients. From what we've heard so far, one might think that the legal industry and AI are on some kind of honeymoon phase. However, a closer look rather busts the fairy tale, because there are issues, many and valid. For instance, can we leave AI do the legal work unmonitored? What if its decisions are not merely based on ethical and legal principles? What if it develops its own biases? Then there is accountability. AI can make errors, but it cannot be legally responsible. You cannot scold an algorithm. You cannot sue it for malpractice. Actual persons that use the tools are those who should be held responsible for its mistakes. Last, but far from least, is what we call depersonalization. Over-reliance on AI could remove human contact from legal services. However, people will always need, at the end of the day, an actual person, a human attorney who will provide them with custom and bespoke advice. Besides the concerns just mentioned, which are mostly ethical and philosophical, there are also practical challenges and disadvantages. AI is not a free ride. Implementing AI systems can have a high initial cost. Integration issues. Integrating AI in an already working flow, a legal workflow, can be a very time-consuming and complex task. Data privacy and security. What are we doing with, what can we do with our clients' personal data? The machine is hungry for data. It needs real data. But can we feed the machine with our clients' sensitive legal information and personal data? What if there is a leak? What if the machine is hacked? Implications can be very, very serious. AI has advantages and disadvantages, as it happens with any tool, as it happens with almost everything in life. But then, what will help us reach a verdict? What will tip the scale? So it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to present new, compelling evidence. Evidence that proves that AI is not human, of course. However, I have to tell you that there is strong evidence that lawyers are humans. And there are some things that human lawyers can do and AI can't. Client counseling. When we lawyers counsel a client, we're not just conveying legal information to the client. We are tailoring it to client's situation. We address clients' intentions, worries, concerns. We're trying to ensure that their testimony will not harm their interests. So far, AI cannot provide that level of guidance and service. Legal strategy. We've previously seen AI's lack of bias as a strength. However, it can also be a weakness. It's paramount for us lawyers to understand the dynamics, the personalities of the opposing parties, of the judge, of the jury. This is something that AI cannot do. Subjectivity and nuance. Many cases, most cases, are characterized by nuanced details and subjective interpretations. Besides, laws are not always clear-cut. We use our expertise and experience in order to navigate these nuances, while AI may struggle, of course, to do so. To build a stronger case, I will now present to the jury the two most important instances where AI fails to be human. AI lacks human judgment and has limited contextual understanding. We lawyers often use several obscure terms, the so-called legalese. Take the word consideration, for instance. Consideration in the fields of contract law refers to something of value being exchanged between the parties. However, in criminal law, it refers to the intent, to mental state behind a person's actions. Can AI tell the difference? Often not. I'm sure that all of you have been using Google Translate, for instance, for trivial everyday tasks. For instance, when you want to have a discussion with a taxi driver when traveling abroad, or trivial issues, everyday issues. However, would you translate, would you depend on it to translate your billion-dollar merger from Swedish to French? I don't think so. AI also lacks the capability to recognize and respond to emotional cues. AI systems excel at processing large amounts of data and patterns. However, they can struggle with grasping the real text, the real matter of a legal case. On the other hand, lawyers use deep analytical and critical thinking in order to address clients' emotions, clients' motivation. They use their emotional intelligence in order to empathize with their clients, and in that way, they address and they give their clients the best possible services. At this point, I would like to call myself to the stand and contribute a simple testimony. One day, I tested the capabilities of ChatGPT in a routine legal issue regarding commercial leases in Greece. Specifically, I asked the machine about the validity of the parties' agreement upon a duration shorter than the ex lege minimum one. And this is the answer that I got. Indeed, ChatGPT made a big mistake here. The respective law, first of all, is not this one, but the Presidential Decree 34 of 1975. But apart from that, such an agreement cannot be valid. That's a norm. Unless made in written with a separate posterior agreement bearing the verification of both party signatures by a public authority. However, and to be fair with AI, ChatGPT also provided the right guidance. Ask an expert. It shows both the limitations of the technology, but also its capabilities when used responsibly. AI should not be seen as a digital impersonation of evil. It can revolutionize our industry, but it should be approached with caution. AI can be both a friend and a foe. It's up to us to decide. The writing on the wall is clear. AI is here to stay in the legal profession, and not only, of course. So, it's time for the verdict. Don't worry, nobody needs to rise. Businesses should adopt the mindset that AI is there to supplement their attorney's role, not to replace them. On the other hand, attorneys should understand that they have to embrace AI tools and they shouldn't shy away from them in order to future-proof their work. However, it's always critical to utilize technology in a responsible and cautious way and securing clients' interests. AI presents a significant opportunity, yet the essential role of human lawyers in providing contextually aware, bespoke, and personalized advice is irreplaceable. To sum up in one phrase, AI won't replace lawyers. However, lawyers who use AI will replace those who don't. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bekas, for such a thorough look at AI. and its potential threats and opportunities, you really tear down at least one bias, that lawyers are highly bureaucratic and technology-averse people, right? So thank you so much. Now, on to you, Dr. Parkvall. I believe you will take us on an exciting journey to a 6G future where, with the help of machine learning and AI, we expect to see a true merge between the physical and the cyber world. Will this benefit our work, and how? Please.
Thank you. There we got the screen. So this was actually my office for a couple of days in February, but more on that later. First, thanks for inviting me, and I will try to guide you a little bit through what we think about 6G, what that is, and with a little bit of connection to AI as well, so that I can stay on this panel. First, to put things into perspective, in the telco business, we're keen on talking about Gs, and they come at a regular cadence every 10th year or so. So what we have out in the field now that is about to be deployed or coming out is 5G. And since I'm a research guy, I'm 10 years ahead, so I'm more into 6G, and when I say that, I mean 2030 and beyond. But I think this slide, you can say a lot of things about it, but one thing is actually that the big change here, I would say, is between 4G and 5G. Maybe not so much because of all the technical solutions, but because we go beyond the smartphone. 5G really tries to address more use cases, go into factories, help production, help society and things like that, compared to the previous generation, which have been very smartphone-centric or phone-centric, if you go even further back. So that's one big change. I think the type of problems we address is vastly different in 5G. Of course, we still do the smartphones as well. I think you can also use this slide to connect a little bit to the first panel. What we've seen of the Gs, if you start with 1G, that was very much about regional standards, maybe even country-specific standards, moving into one global standard in 4G and 5G, which was great. Gave a big market, big volumes, low cost and everything. So the question is now, what will happen with 6G? Given the geopolitical situation, will we diverge again, or will we stay in one global standard? And I really hope that we will have a global standard, and I think most companies are on that track. Moving on to 6G. I won't talk about all the bubbles here. We can definitely dig deep into technology if we're keen on that, but I won't do it on stage. Main message here is really that 6G, we try to connect physical reality with a digital reality. So we can have a digital twin or whatever and go between them. And you can do things like digital twins, Internet of Senses would be remote sensing. In some sense, that is what we've done from the beginning. It started with voice. You can talk to people far away. Then we added videos, so you can see people far away. Why should we stop there? Why not continue and basically bring all the senses remotely? We will connect machines. That's building on the 5G story. We have to connect the sustainable world here, which is basically twofold. It's both reducing the energy consumption in the networks, connects back to the previous panel, and also help the society to become more energy efficient. Maybe by doing more remote meetings, controlling houses, whatnot. I mean, the jury's out there. You basically have starting that journey in 5G and continue with 6G. But the main point on this slide is really about the pillars at the bottom. Past Gs has been very communication-centric. So that's basically just been the blue one, and of course we have the security and things like that. But with 6G, we really try to address something broader. Connectivity is still important, definitely. But also trustworthiness in a wide sense. That you should trust your system, that you should always be there, you shouldn't fail, your data should stay safe, etc. That's becoming more and more important. We have cognitive networks, and that is really about using AI to run the networks. Back in the old days, you had a lot of manual tuning on networks, set a lot of parameters. Now, we already now use AI in the networks. to predict things. Should we turn on the base station or not in order to save energy, for example? And you can actually, by using AI, save around 20% energy because you can turn on and off things in a smarter way. What we really would like to see here in the end is some form of intent-based management, so that I can tell the network as an operator that, please, I would like to provide a good machine-type service in this city, everywhere, with this and this state rate, etc. Go ahead and arrange it for me. And the system figures out by itself how to set all the parameters, fine-tunes, and updates as we go. We're not there yet, but we go in that direction. And we also see compute being a part of this big picture. So 60 is something much broader than just communication. So coming back to my February office, Mobile World Congress is a big event in the cellular business in Barcelona every year. Everyone is there, so Ericsson as well. We showcase products and everything, but we also did give 4 glimpses into the future at MWC this year. So we talked about the digital twin of a network, we talked about some new spectrum, we talked about really super high data rates, and we talked about zero energy devices. And that is what I will spend the rest of the time on. So what is a zero energy device? It's really a sensor without a battery from an end user perspective. And there's a lot of sensors out there. There's a lot of things you may want to sense. And this is one example with a collaboration we had with MIT in Boston, Massachusetts, in the US. They have created fabric with built-in sensors. By using a standard knitting machine, you can basically put in fibers in the cloth. And whenever 2 of these special fibers cross, you get a pressure sensor. It's not super accurate, but you get hundreds of them in your clothing. And you get normal fabric out of that. And here they built socks out of it. And by just sensing what you do with your feet, you can figure out what the person is doing by using an AI model fed with that sensor data from the feet. It's pretty fun. And the guy looks a little bit funny as well, but it's another story. So this is one thing you can use it for. And imagine that you play golf, for example. You want to practice your golf swing. You want to check out things. Maybe you can put on these type of socks. Or if you're a soccer player, you want to do something there. Or gaming industry, you want to run around shoot your friends in the woods. Not for real, of course, but as a game. So there's a lot of things you can do with these sensors. They also made a sweater out of this, that red sweater, connected to an AI model. And by reading these hundreds of sensors in the sweater, you can predict whether she is sitting in the sofa, laying down in the sofa, leaning against the wall, or whatever she's doing. Again, you can think of a lot of different use cases here. Gaming is one thing. You can think about healthcare. If you have elderly people that are not supposed to sleep in the same position all the time, maybe they can have this type of sweater on them, and you set off an alarm if they haven't moved for a while, things like that. There was actually even a guy at the Mobile World Congress that came to me and said, policemen should have this. When there's a riot, we can see if they've fallen down or not. So it triggered a lot of imagination among people, what can you use these type of sensors for? Okay, is Ericsson going into the clothing business? No, that's not the intention. But if you look really carefully here, these sweaters here were connected with a cable. Because MIT did this in order they wanted to do research on body movement. So where we come in is really to connect them wirelessly. So I have another model of the sweater here. And you probably don't see it from there, but you can take a look afterwards. I'll be around. Where we have a small circuit here that we developed. It's about a square millimeter or so. And that little radio transmitter collects sensor information from the sweater, hundreds of sensors, transmit it to the receiver, and there's no battery. Because what we do, we harvest energy from the surroundings to power this device. And you can harvest energy from a lot of things. If you move around, of course, that movement is energy. If you have a cup of coffee, that's energy as well. It's hot inside, cold outside. In this case, we actually harvested radio energy, which is really, really difficult because the amount of radio energy around is very, very small. But you can do it. So you can sit here, there's energy in there, harvest that for a couple of minutes, and then you have energy enough to transmit for a couple of milliseconds or so, which is enough for many of these sensing applications. You're not sending super high data rates to high resolution images. It could be that you want to monitor temperature or the sweat or whatever. So there's a lot of places where you really would like to have a lot of very, very simple low-cost sensors. Could be agriculture industry. You can place it in the crops to check out the humidity or temperature so that the tomato plants, whatever it is, grows in the proper way. Could be medical application. Just stitch it on your skin if you want to check your blood sugar or something. Could be a traffic monitoring in a city. You want to see how things move around there, to see if there's congestion and see if we can do things. That will, of course, help to build a more sustainable society as well, if you can resolve these type of traffic jams or whatever it could be. So there's a lot of places where you need a huge number of sensors that should be simple and low cost. And you can take that massive amount of sensor data and feed into an AI model to get knowledge out of that. And in this sweater example, I mean, there were hundreds of sensors. They're not that accurate. But it doesn't matter because there's so many of them, and together they give a picture of what's going on. It can be the same thing in the city. Maybe not every sensor is super accurate. Doesn't matter because there's so many of them. So this is also part of 6G. Or maybe I should say it's even part of 5G because the journey is starting now. We see more and more applications beyond traditional smartphones already in 5G, and that journey will continue onwards with 6G. So with that, I save 4 minutes and end with my nice February office again. It was really intense days with thousands of people coming by and looking at all this research stuff that we showed up. But it was really fun to meet a lot of people as well. So thank you for listening. And I will have this up there.
Thank you, Dr. Parkvall. This was truly astonishing. Myriads of microscopic sensors around us that do not need a battery, garments that understand and accurately predict our movement in space. I wonder, will they also read our thoughts? Now on to you, our third and last speaker for today, Johnny Stieger. I understand you will walk us in a factory and explain the miracles that machine learning and AI can help achieve and what that means for the production-related workplace. The stage is yours.
Close with sensors. So much learning today. I will talk a bit more on how we work in SKF practically, and I will also talk a bit about what we want to do in the future. And I will use very much what we do within machine learning and also what we aim to do within AI. SKF is a product. SKF is a company, and our product is a quite anonymous product. Some of you might have arrived here in a train. We have and are very strong when it comes to bearings and bogies for trains, which we also supervise and ensure that they are in the right conditions so that you don't have a train accident. One or two of you might come here in a bicycle. So it might be that our products are in the wheels to make sure it spins. I look at you, so I say this with some doubt. Some of you might come here on a skateboard, but I doubt it though. But we are quite good and quite big when it comes to skateboard bearings. So our products are more or less everywhere in your everyday life, even though you cannot see it. So if it rotates, it's a quite good potential that it's an SKF product inside, even if you cannot see it. My focus of today will be more around servitization. Not of the product as a steel product that you buy, rather the function that you would like to get out of it, or the service you would like to get out of it. Where we have actually, our mission is to increase you, our customers, competitive advantage through what we say, sustainable rotation. And we do that through people, planet, profit. For the ones that have worked in production and maintenance, might be some of you, You know that when we have accidents in our factories, on our ships, it's very often related to corrective action, unplanned activities. You have an unplanned, unforeseen activity or action that happens that force you to do something to correct it. What we try to work with is to make your everyday life a bit more boring, actually. It should be no surprises. It should be plannable. You should know well in advance what is about to happen, and you should be able to act prior to it happening and impacting your production, and you should also try to improve it. And then from a planet perspective, I would say a tradition, if we go back in time, has been that you buy a product, in our case, it's a bearing, and you use it, and then you toss it away, and you install a new one. This is not the way we want to run our business. This is not the way we want to change it. We are working with remanufacturing of bearings. So if you have a bearing inside your machine, and you know the condition of it, we can take it out well in advance before it impacts quality, net output, or in worst case, a breakdown. Clean it, inspect it, reuse the surfaces, mount it again, and offer it back to you as a completely new bearing with the same capacity, at the friction of the cost, and with a huge CO2 saving. Because that iron doesn't have to be mined. We don't need to forge it, grind it, turn it, mount it, and then deliver it to you. We are reusing the existing products. If we get the product and we understand this is not good for reman, that we would, of course, recommend you to change it. The same comes with lubrication. Lubricants have been staying in the soil for millions of years. We take it up, and in some cases, companies use it for a year and then toss it away. And we don't think that is a sustainable way of working. So we are actually the biggest lubrication supplier on this planet. So we can filter it, we can clean it, we can reuse it, so that you can reuse what has once come from the soil and make it not a renewable, but you make it last much, much longer. And the last figure is the profit. This should be profitable. It should be profitable for us as a company and you as a customer. And then how we then work with helping our customers to work in this way. We have different types of centers. We call them rotating equipment performance centers. This is centers we have throughout EMEA where we have groups of extremely skilled professionals in different fields. Might it be vibration analysis? Might it be root cause failure analysis, bearing analysis, application engineering? And we monitor and follow the condition of your equipment. And we have quite a few bearings within EMEA connected, cloud-based today. If I were to take everything that is on-prem and handheld measured also, that's the number would be much higher. And then we have 12 different reman centers. We opened the last center roughly 1.5 months ago in Kiruna, far up in Sweden. The temperature is slightly different than here. They already start to get snow. Up there we have a cluster of mines and steel companies and pulp and paper companies. And many of them are embracing the reman approach. And so we felt with that business potential and that speed that the business is growing, we need to be local at the customer. And we also have a calculation that we provide to the customer. We can prove and show the CO2 savings in having this approach. One of our bigger customers is Billerud-Korsnäs in Sweden. And we actually asked them, so how do you feel working with SKF in this circular way of working, where we take the machines under control? And I will actually share as a 1-minute video and call it a testimonial from a dear customer.
Billerud-Korsnäs Maintenance Department sought help to understand the cause of recurring bearing damage. This led to a technology cooperation with SKF, including bearing remanufacturing services, condition monitoring, application engineering, lubrication, and bearing analysis. The result? Increased flexibility, availability, and getting closer to zero unplanned downtime.
Ja, vi tittar ju inte bara på remanufacturing, vi tittar ju om på hela maskinlösningen. Det driver oss att bli ännu bättre att hitta de kompletta lösningarna för att öka värdet. I slutändan ökar vi kundvärdet, men vi ökar framförallt tillgängligheten på vår maskinpark.
If it would have been longer, I would offer you popcorn prior to the film, but it was quite short. So then how it comes together? Well, we have our rotating equipment performance centers where we have these skilled personnel working in different fields. And we start to look at data from multiple sources. It might be field service reports from technicians being on site doing mounting, demounting, balancing of your machinery. It might be looking at, if we see a deviation, at the stock allowance. So when would we have this product available for you? When would you need to order it in order to have it just in time? Would you need to stock it, or can you order it when needed? And we take this data, we start to integrate it, we start to enrich it, and then we present it to both internally as to you as a customer in different ways. If you are a technician, you probably want to see wide graphs and different data diagrams. If you are perhaps a facility or production manager, perhaps you would like to see the actions coming out of the deviations. And if you are a factory manager or an MD, perhaps you would like to see how many bearings, how much money did I save in bearings I didn't have to purchase versus last year, for example. So we put this data together, and the tools we use today to work with that is mainly machine learning. We are in the beginning of AI, I would say, but we are quite good with machine learning. We are using automatic fine-tuning of alarms. We have auto adjustments of identified defects. We have new thresholds automatically set by the systems, and we have quite advanced diagnostics rules for setting alarms and thresholds. And this is very much automated. So the aim we have had doing this is try to take away some of the trees so we see the forest. As an analyst in the past, you were facing a big chunk of false positive alarms, meaning you spend a big portion of your day closing down alarms that were not actually providing value, but they were false. Now we have more time to focus on the real alarms, and we have a better input of working with those alarms, and we can put together the right set of competences to look at what is this type of deviations we are seeing, what is the remaining useful life before customer need to do something before it impacts quality or cycle time, or in worst case, a breakdown. And the most important, what is the root cause of having this deviation? So not just to mitigate the activity as such, but to start to look at prescriptive maintenance, meaning we start to not just improve it, but we improve the solution prior to you actually seeing and feeling the deviation. Next step, which we are working on, but we are still in a fairly early stage, is to take data from all the different multiple sources we have and all the different databases to work much better with pattern identification. And I will come to an example on the next slide regarding that. And then go into prescriptive maintenance. Prescriptive maintenance is when you, through metadata, identifies a beginning deviation before it actually has started to deviate, and then you correct that deviation and eliminate the root cause of that prior to you actually experience the negative aspect of the deviation. We also work together. We have 2 pilots up and running where we are starting to work with process data. So if we add pressure, flow, temperature, number of pieces, number of ton produced, how can that help us to help the customer to make even better decision and to better and earlier understand the root cause? Currently, we are not in that stage. Now we have a lot of trees. We actually don't see the forest. We are drowning in data. And that's the challenge now, is to sort this data. Which data is showing false correlations? Which data is actually showing the value? And how do we enrich this data and present it so we can actually take decisions on it? And one of the benefits we have, because we have more than 70 factories around the globe, and that used to be my home base. So I have the practice ground, and I have a factory in Gothenburg where I'm located. So what we say when we talk about digitalization, and when we talk about machine learning, and when we talk about AI, first, we set the house in order in our own factories. We don't want to have chaos when we digitalize, because we believe that we will have digitalized chaos. So we get to the point where it makes sense that we actually can do something with the data, that we have some sort of base structure. We have data sorted, tagged, structured. We have repositories to translate so that data from different sources mean the same thing. And it might look like this. We start from a quite, call it decent level, and we go up to what we call world-class level. But we are biased in that we call it world-class. But then you have other countries and factories. This is actually a factory I work myself. This is Tortuguitas in Argentina, where we also had to work. And they had a different, call it maturity of their machine park, much more mechanical. But we actually need to work with what we have. So this is the current situation. It's the same machines. They are painted. Some of them have new covers. We have redrawn their electrical cabinets. We have installed sensors. We have retrofitted quite a lot of solutions, but it's the same machines. So we are quite used to working with old, standalone, single operation machines up to what was in the previous page with automated guided vehicles that serves the machine themselves order the material, and to make that frog leap from this level up to the level we have in Gothenburg. And then we put that, together with our offer. How can we put an offer together for the customer that is fits for purpose? Some cases you want to buy and purchase transactional, we do that. On the other hand, we have customers who prescribes for certain functions that pay us a monthly fee, all included, bearing, surveillance, lubrication system. We work together towards a common target. And then you have everything in between. And I would say that's the big bulk of the customers. What I see as the next slide, and it's the final slide, is this. And I call it just imagine, because in order for this to be a plan or a strategy or a target, I would need to have everything planned out. And roughly now I have perhaps 60% planned out, so it's still call it a dream. Imagine this, if you're a customer. You get a signal. Hi, this is a robot, by the way. It's not a human. I have auto-diagnosed the beginning deviation. It has not yet impacted quality or output. However, you will need to act within 8 months. You have a planned maintenance stop in 6.2 months, which we know of, where we can intervene. Analyzing 6,200 assets of similar types and trends provide the following root cause: ingression of moisture, insufficient lubrication system. Recommended improved solutions: sealed SRB bearing and a CLP lubrication system. Proposed offer: sealed SRB bearing, lubrication system, and field service technicians to carry out the task. Please press order. After pressing order, planning of work as preparation of material will be initiated. And then solution implemented, documented, root cause eliminated, new threshold defined, we are all go. And to have this fully automated without manual intervention. That's where I want to go. And I believe I will be there in a few years. And that's what we talk about, to reimagine rotation for a better tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stieger. It seems, I mean, from condition-based maintenance to prescriptive maintenance, it seems like the holy grail for production managers and product plant owners. Right, okay, so now let's go into the part of the discussion. We have prepared a couple of questions. We're going to take questions from the audience as well. Let me start with one question to you, because I think it fits very well with what we saw. We saw a lot of nice things happening. We didn't see the humans, though. So, considering the pervasive impact of AI in various industries, how do you see the role of human workers evolving in your respective fields? In what ways will humans complement, collaborate, or potentially be replaced by AI technologies? And how should businesses prepare for these shifts in the workforce? And I'll start with you, Mr. Stieger.
Well, if I take the practical experience I have myself from working with our own factories and customers, I would say the simplest tasks that we do, inspection, simple exchange, those inspections are being automated. These are gone. The next level of, call it reliability work or running the production, is more and more done by multi-skilled personnel, and it's easier to do because you get a much better input. And then you will have a quite big team that are working with the improvement part, the analyzing of data, that to come to solution to further automate, to further improve, to further speed up. And so I think the change of competence is required to a high extent. And I take one example. My daughter came to me and she said they are not allowed to do homework. She's in university because of this ChatGPT. And she didn't like it, though, because she said, if I ask it to write a report of the middle, let's say, Roman Empire, 200 words, it provides quite a bad text, actually. And then I told her, but you need to add more meat on the bone for this. Ask it to write about the Roman Empire from a slave's perspective, at a feminist perspective, and focus on food. And now press enter. And she was like, wow. So I think that the competences that is required will change, because we need to be the master of these data. And it can do just so, we need to ask it the right questions in the right way. So I foresee that a lot of manual, repetitive, call it boring tasks, will disappear more and more. And it will be more automated, and that would require a higher expertise within our factories and much more knowledge around computer and computer science. That's how I see it.
So basically we take people from the floor and we need to add more people on working with data analysis and so on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think the sum will probably be a minus, because you will be able to do much more with fewer. I think that's the boring truth about it. I mean, you see it in your personal life. Yes, while flying here, you order your ticket yourself in the system, you do your check-in yourself, you check in your luggage yourself. We are going in that direction. I think we need to understand that and sort of figure out how do we handle that in the long run, which I think will be a challenge.
Very interesting. What about you, Mr. Parkvall? What do you think about the role of human workers in the age of AI?
Yeah, there will still be a role for humans, I hope. I think we automated things over decades, centuries, and we replaced old roles with automation, and those people found other things to do. So I think that will probably be the case now as well. Difference a little bit is probably that now, in the past it's been blue-collar workers that have been affected. Now it's more white-collar workers that are affected. So that's a new thing. And also the speed of it. It's very, very fast. In the past, maybe it took a generation before some automation were in place and people had time to adapt. Now things can happen over a year or 2 years or 3 years or something like that. So it's much, much faster. And that, I think, is a challenge. But it will automate a lot of boring tasks. I mean, software development, for example, Ericsson is one of the biggest software companies in the world. Of course, we will, like other companies, start to use AI to write parts of the code, the boring standard parts that you can automate. Then, of course, humans need to check that it's okay and that it fits the bigger picture and so on. You can get help by analyzing some code. Okay, what did this old code do? I didn't find documentation. You can get some hints on that. So there's a lot of things you can use it for, and it will be used, definitely.
So it is basically, again, we see a shift in terms of the tasks that we will be doing in the future. But as you very well said, the speed is accelerating a lot. So this could be an issue, basically.
Yeah, I think the speed is the challenge for us humans to adopt and the society to adopt.
Thank you. And you, Mr. Bekas, what do you think?
Yes. First of all, I have to say that I don't think that AI imposes any threat for anybody, for employees or anybody else. I believe that AI will help us have more free time. That's what I believe. Work upon more enjoyable and valuable tasks. Avoid the less interesting ones, the routines, the automated ones. And of course, some jobs will be abolished because of AI. There will be some training or retraining that will be needed for employees. But new jobs will emerge. I mean, we can predict some of these. There are some others that we cannot even predict now. What I often say is take postmen, for example. I mean, when emails came out, we needed less postmen than before.
True.
But then a demand for other specialists, other professionals emerged. Programmers, security, network specialists, etc. So I really believe that AI can give us, can really improve our lives if we use it, of course, in a responsible and a cautious manner, in a way, of course.
Very great. A very optimistic view. People might disagree with you on the threats somehow, but yes, I understand what you're saying. Which takes us actually to the next question is, what measures do you think we should take, such as regulations, policies, incentives, or societal strategies, so that we can ensure, coming back to what you said, Johnny, to ensure equitable distribution of AI benefits while effectively managing the risks and the threats in the workplace, in the sense that we said it will liberate time for all of us, right? So how can we make sure that this privilege or this benefit is going as wide as distributed as wide as possible, not to just a few people, but to everybody in the society? What measures can we take? What could we do to ensure that?
I think it's a challenge. I think your restriction is very, very important when it comes to AI. I think it's important. It will be much more important going forward, because AI can really be used for a lot of good things. It can do so much, and it's, as you said, it's going and growing exponentially by the months, more or less. You see when ChatGPT came, now you can ask actually ChatGPT to do a presentation. It provides pictures. It can do so much. But it could also do bad things. I think we need to have a good legislation in place quite early to mitigate that, so we ensure that it works for the purpose of us and the purpose of good. Because as any tool, you can use it and you can misuse it. And
Correct.
I think today, if you want to create horrible weapons or viruses, this is restricted data to a high extent, versus AI and algorithms are more freely still, because we are still in a perhaps experimental phase. And I think we will mature and as users, but also I think the legislation is extremely critical here. So really glad to have you here.
So it's Mr. Bekas who's going to solve our problem. Bear with it, you have it on your shoulders. Stefan, what about you? What do you think?
It's a very
Any
difficult.
brilliant idea to offer?
It's very difficult questions. Maybe we need AI to solve it.
I know.
I also think that we need legislation and rules in place. But it, of course, depends a lot on what aspect you're looking at. If you use it in Ericsson network to improve some handler algorithm or to detect a falling ball bearing, maybe that's not that threatening, so that you can do. But if you use it for more important things, yes, I think you need something like that. And we need to ensure that we humans are on top of it. And it's also very easy for AI to come up with incorrect arguments. We saw one example there, and sometimes it's like the AI machine is smoking crack or something. It can hallucinate a lot. And if you're not into
That's illegal, you know.
Yeah.
By the
I'm not
way,
doing it. Maybe ChatGPT is doing it.
Recently.
Yeah, in most countries, I think. But so I think it requires a lot from us humans as well to be able to detect and judge whether the answer is reasonable or not, and not just buy whatever the AI machine is telling you. I also think that some form of mechanism in the AI machine so that they can explain why it came to certain conclusions is important. Not just it's like this. It should say it is like this because of. That I think is very important. And I know that's a very hot research area as well.
Resonance.
Yeah.
so it could give us also a kick to develop even more our critical thinking, right?
Yes.
Because you cannot just consume what you get from the machine. You have to check it and really verify it and so on.
Yeah.
Mr. Bekas.
And I think we need that critical thinking. I mean, just look what's going on in the world right now. It's very important from that aspect as well.
Exactly. Will you solve us the problem, legislation-wise?
First of all, I have to say that I have to mention that there are already some rules, regulations, and principles that can be applied on AI tools. For instance, take GDPR for personal data. I mean, for European law. It can, of course, it can be applied concern regarding issues that have to do with personal data, etc. So there are already laws, principles that can be applied. Apart from that, I'm sure that in the years to come, we will certainly need some more laws and regulations. Besides, you have to know that. I mean, we all know that reality precedes legislator. I mean, usually that's what happens.
That is true.
Okay, of course.
And actually, it's been accelerating the trend the last years because so much is happening, and you cannot really,
Okay, we have to think about it. We have to analyze it first. So it's new reality emerges, and then usually legislator comes in order to regulate it, try to regulate it with laws and regulations. And also, societies and people have the ability to self-regulate. I mean, you don't always need a legislator to tell you that you're obliged to do that or you shouldn't do that or whatever. I mean, there are take smart contracts for interest in cryptocurrencies. Yes. Smart contracts were not imposed by any regulator. I mean, they emerged from the sheer need of the parties to transact in a secure and effective way. I mean, so I also believe in self-regulation. There are no bad and good tools. It's the utilization that matters. So that's what I believe, and that's what I will always believe about tools generally, and also with AI.
Great.
If I might chime in there, I think the point you raised with data is very important.
Excuse me?
The data part of it, the data you use to train your network. Are you allowed to use whatever data to train your AI model or not? I mean, I think there are some lawsuits ongoing around ChatGPT, whether they were allowed to use that internet data to train the model or not.
You have to control all this.
And I think the same thing will probably happen in many other areas. I mean, if you train your AI model in one factory, are you allowed to use that model in your competitor's factory?
In another one, exactly.
These type of things.
And then also IPR rights. You have also this issue because you might be using data that have IPR on them and then not giving up the rights to the right people. I mean, we saw what is happening in Hollywood and so on.
Yes, about IP rights, of course.
Yes.
we need to have common sense. We have to understand it's a tool. I mean, it's a tool. Like every tool. What you insert in the tool, it's something that you are responsible for that.
So responsibility and accountability of the user is also very important. Correct.
I think it's simple at the end of the day. It's simple to understand what we have to do with. It's a tool, no matter how complicated it is. It's just a tool.
Good to hear that, coming from a lawyer. Optimistic view. Thank you. Let's go to the audience now. I'm sure you must have questions. I mean, this is the hottest issue technologically of the last year or so. Any questions from the audience? Someone? Ah, there is one. A microphone, please, here.
First of all, thank you for the very nice discussion. It was
Your
really...
name and...
Sorry?
Your name, please. And
I'm George Papas. I'm from Ericsson and Vice Chairman of the Hellenic Swedish Chamber of Commerce. I would like to actually comment and make a question related to the legislation, to the way that we will protect the society from AI. And you know, in the first panel, we were discussing about the geopolitics, the democracy, and how all these are connected. And now we're in the last panel that we are discussing about the AI and the possible threats that this can bring to societies and most probably also to our democracy. Imagine that the country is developing the right legislation, the perfect legislation that protects the country from, you know, any possible threat from the AI, but the next country does not do that. What is the answer on that? Or what we can...
How do you deal with the bad
how
guys?
the world
That's
will
what you're
be
asking.
in that case, that, for example, in the autonomous car, you know, in one country, there are everything in place, so we protect the people, the society from accidents, but in the next country we do not. In order not to go to the defense wars and so on and so forth. I brought this example that's quite simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bekas, I think it's first for you.
Very legal question. I have to start billing here, time billing.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So, first of all, my short answer is I don't know. I mean, I have to be honest with you. We have to see things. We're just on the verge of the things, of the issues, of such issues. These issues are legal, philosophical, ethical, and who knows what else. However, I believe that countries like our country, I mean, that are part of the European Union, of course, we have some common laws, common guidelines upon these issues. So I don't think that we will have such problems or such challenges because we are part of this of European Union. However, there might be some issues with other countries who may follow some other regulations and laws. Also, one more issue, challenging issue is, what if somebody, what if a country or a business, an enterprise, develops AI and special AI systems or machines, and those systems and machines are not open to everybody else? What does that mean for that business, for that country, for the rest of the world? These are issues that have to be discussed. They are already being discussed, and I think that there is a lot of work in front of us regarding this issue. So I don't have a strict answer upon this, but of course it's something very interesting, very challenging, and I'm really eager to see how things will develop.
I think, if I might add before passing to you, Stefan, I think it's also important to note that the European Union is working already on that. I mean, again, pioneering in that sense, because it's very early days, there are no rules there, it's like a Far West, so they're trying to set some guidelines.
It's a chaos. It's a chaos now, yes.
Yes.
We're trying to see what this is all about.
Yes. Stefan?
Seems to be good for your business. A lot of legal questions to resolve. You will not be unemployed by AI. No, I don't have a good answer either, but I think it's an extremely good question. But I think it's also a little bit similar to the situation we have, if you look at other areas. There are regulations if you're allowed to do certain experiments or not on animals. There are regulations if you're allowed to emit poisonous stuff in the environment or not. And those rules are different in different countries. And of course, if you have less morale, you might go to a country where you're allowed to do all this kind of nasty stuff because that gives you competitive advantage. And I think the same thing might happen with AI, that you're allowed to do it in that country, but not the other country.
It's like taxes.
So in that sense, it's nothing new.
Now, Stefan, you gave me an idea now. We could ask ChatGPT the question that George asked and see what is the answer, right? Do you want to add something?
No, I think it's a really good question. And I think if you take the example of the car, you take one country, they have organized the legislation. Still, it would be very interesting to understand if the car has two choices, either hurt you as a driver or hurt the pedestrian, and it had to choose. Who is to blame? You as a driver, who actually are not the driver, the car company, take Volvo, which we had here earlier. I mean, who is to take the responsibility?
Or Ericsson, who made the network for the
who made the
autonomous car.
network? And if it's due to some breaching, yeah. So today we have a lot of supervised AI. In our production for grinding, we are using supervised AI. We have automated guided vehicles in our factories, partly supervised. But when you go over to unsupervised, then I think the legislation will be very critical. And I think it's even more critical when you go cross-border. Yeah.
So there is a lot of work to be done, bottom line, and there are a lot of unknowns and question marks still in the equation. We don't have all the answers. And it's good to know we don't have all the answers. At least we know. Then the next step is to find the answers.
But we can ChatGPT.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we have time for one last question. So let me take that on. Thank you for the question from the audience. In your experience, what are the distinct advantages of pioneering AI adoption, because you all have done that in your industry, as opposed to waiting for it to become mainstream? How has this impacted your work or field? Johnny.
Well, I think, of course, it provides a competitive advantage if you are the first mover. But you also do it at a cost, because you're the one experimenting, you're the one developing, the other ones can follow part of that development. But I think it's also about the culture of a company. Do you want to be a pioneer? Do you want to be in the forefront? Do you want to take the control over it?
So it depends on the DNA as well,
Yeah.
that you carry as a company,
But
right?
it has a high risk, because the first one developing whatever you develop will take a high cost and a high risk. So, but you will also be first.
And you will learn a lot
Yes.
on the way. Stefan?
Yeah, I think AI is just another tool in the toolbox, in some sense, as someone commented. I like that approach. It's not a magic wand that solves all your problems, but it's a really good tool for some problems. And from an Ericsson perspective, of course, it's important to master the toolbox, because we want to deliver the best networks. So in that aspect, yeah, we need to master AI, we need to be first, and then first out with new solutions. Like you said, it's a competitive advantage. Then you can also have AI as kind of support system, or administrative system, whatever, and that's a different thing. Then I think you bring in that product when it makes sense economically. But in your own product, if you want to be first and get that advantage, yeah, then you need to master AI like you need to master any other tool.
Mr. Bekas?
I will also say that, yes, being a pioneer gives you the time advantage, which can translate into a competitive advantage. So being an early adopter is something that I think of crucial importance. Or else you will be pressured to follow those who have already done that, and then you have a competitive necessity instead of a competitive advantage. So I really believe in the importance of being a pioneer, especially such kind of tools. In our industry, as you have already said, we are not too fast, very fast, so fast, and adopting new things and new technologies and tools. Yes, yes. Because, you know, we lawyers, we know everything, that's why. That's our problem. But in any case, I have to admit that day by day we see more and more lawyers being interested, at least, in discovering the abilities of that tools, implications of that tools. So I believe that there are things, we have many steps, of course. We have some more steps to do, but I think we are in a good stage, in a good phase right now in my industry. We already use such tools, especially in legal research, like Qualex or several tools, and we can have a research that would once take us days. We can do that in a couple of hours. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's like but of course, you also have to use your common sense to understand what you're seeing. I mean, if you don't use your common sense, then no tool will save you. Exactly. It needs common sense, just that.
So I take that we're all for pioneering, despite the cost. There is a cost attached to pioneering, but we believe it's better to be first than wait for being afterwards.
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for this eye-opening discussion. We're done with our session, so you're released from me. I need to close the... Thank you.